This land was made for you and me. That includes our poor and hungry. If you want to join the fight, come stand with us on the right side of history. Divided we stand, united we fall. In the belly of the beast, fighting fascists, the tyrants.
Good evening, everybody. This is Divided We Stand on YouTube and on Facebook. If you're unfamiliar with this channel, we please ask that you subscribe to it and click the bell so whenever we have a show, you can be easily directed to our live broadcast. Also, if you are unfamiliar with our Facebook group page, which is very, very popular and growing to this day, we ask that you become a member of our group if you are on Facebook. You have to look for it a little bit because there are other Divided We Stands out there, just as on YouTube there are other Divided We Stands. I think there's a Steve Morse group named after his album, Divided We Stand. So I hope that you will all consider becoming members and be a part of this small movement, but we are here and we are doing something. In any case, I'd like to introduce my co-host and good friend, educator, former educator. I guess he's still an educator in a way. Also, he was a reporter at one time and a writer. He does just about everything. He's not a dilettante. He actually does some things. So let's go to him now. From Arlington, Virginia, this is our David Price. Dave, how be you? Okay. And that's our show for tonight, folks. Thanks, Dave, for giving us your words of wisdom. But seriously, no, Dave, how are you? And what do you think is the most important thing to talk about tonight?
Well, let's see. We could probably do, if we chose to, a 10-hour show and not get to everything Donald Trump did in a week. So let's start here. As we traditionally do, sometimes we break from tradition. It's always nice to do, sometimes traditionally, sometimes not. So I'm going to break a little bit, but then we're going to come back in a moment with the three.
Sounds good.
At the end of the show, those of you familiar with it know that we ask a question and each of us answer. Are you more optimistic or less optimistic? And that's for the week, because things do change quickly in politics. And with Trump, they can literally change moment to moment. But I'm really... I had an experience that I think captures why I think that Trump is not going to make 4 years. So I got a phone call from a friend who's pretty well connected in the Washington, D.C. world. And she said, guess what? I said, no, what? And she said, I just got a phone call from somebody who's even more connected, a friend. And she said that they're putting out an emergency call trying to get people to come to the Kennedy Center because the tickets are not even half sold out for tonight.
Wonderful.
Which, of course, was the Kennedy Center honors. Now, Trump yesterday bestowed them on what a stellar group. No, okay, they're not a very stellar group. But what it showed in that small group, you had people who've been with him all the time. I really loved Rocky. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I thought Sylvester Stallone was a pretty cool guy. I don't think that anymore. because, of course, he has come out 100% for Trump. So he gets an award. Now, when you think of actors, you can certainly talk about making a lot of money in media. He's had 2 good roles, Rocky, not Rambo, and he played an indie picture once. But we're giving him an award. And then we're giving, the list goes on of people. Kiss. Now, Kiss is the other side of that coin. All the members of Kiss at one point have attacked Trump. Guess what? They don't do it now. Why? Because he's going to give them this award. And so we'll come back to awards later. We have Trump getting his award, of course. But the idea of it is, think about this. Now, in comparison, a few years ago, and somebody can check me on this, not check me, but if they can give us a date, I'd appreciate it. A few years ago, maybe 10, I don't know, 11, Led Zeppelin got the award. And it became one of the big Kennedy Center honors of all time because Heart performed, the band Heart actually started as a Led Zeppelin cover band.
Right, I remember
and
that.
They're very, very good at doing that.
Yes.
And it was one of the most moving renditions of Stairway to Heaven. And it actually brought Robert Plant to tears. And he said, I didn't realize that song. I sang it so many times. And that is a song that we create. Oh, my God. Well, I happened to be there, not at the Kennedy. I went early to just check out. And Brian, there were 1,000 people just waiting to get autographs from Zeppelin, if they could. The place had been sold out for months, and the going rate for a ticket was $5,000. Okay? And tonight, the only difference is Trump and Trump's picks, and you can't even fill with giving away free tickets. Now, one of the things, I didn't know that till I moved here to DC, which is kind of cool. In the cities like New York and DC, and I'm assuming other places, LA, of course, where they have these awards and things, they have what they call seat fillers. And Judy and I've done it a couple of times. They can't even get seat fillers who will come, and the seat fillers, you get they give you a little, you give a couple drinks and whatever, for your time. So it doesn't really matter where Donald Trump is. Everything he touches, we know, turns bad. You have mentioned, and you've been in the forefront of that, Brian, about the untouchable Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. But you have to remember 2 things, I think. Trump, it's like Trump's evil is on steroids right now, except it's not really steroids. It's dementia, and it's ill health, and he will not make it.
Psychosis.
And we just have to keep the pressure on. And that's, you're seeing it dissolve in real time, if you will. You're seeing him dissolve. You're seeing the MAGA group dissolve. Mm-hmm. You're seeing both things simultaneously. You're seeing the sharks sensing the blood in the water are circling. And of course, the problem is when you get people based on, based on a cult of personality, what happens when that personality can no longer function?
Right.
And that's what we're going to find out. Well, what does happen is anybody's eligible to take the Trump mantle, right? So you're going to have the Trump kids. You're going to have Vance. You're going to have Musk choosing somebody. Fortunately, it can't be him because, of course, he's not a born American. You're going to have other people in the mix. Bannon is back. And so is Roger Stone.
I was hoping you wouldn't say that name. I was hoping.
Because whenever Trump gets in trouble, you begin to see, it's not so much that he reaches out for them. It's they understand how to manipulate and use him. And remember, Roger Stone has been doing this a long time, Brian. He didn't start with Trump. He's been doing this since the Richard Nixon years. I mean, think about that. What's that, 40 years, whatever, now, of being a bad, evil man. Bannon, from what they say, he's always been smart. He was once, believe it or not, a liberal. And he was once a huge fan of Bruce Springsteen. But those days are long gone. Mm-hmm. And there's now a bar in Washington, D.C. If you come down, I'll take you to it. It is now known as Trump Central. And it's where all the people in Trump's orbit hang out. And Bannon has his own table there. So definitely, Mr. Bannon, I'm going to go over one day and then approach him and see, hey, Stevie boy, what's up? The point of all this was to begin the show this way. I don't care how depressed you are tonight, and you can be depressed about Trump.
Exhausted.
I don't. You can be exhausted tonight about Trump. You can be a lot of things, but trust me, it is working. We are diminishing him. He is diminishing himself. He cannot handle two things. One he can't handle is mockery, satire, or ridicule. And certainly South Park, and certainly Gavin Newsom, and certainly some others are, making sure that goes on every day. And, Trump is a caricature of Trump. So it's guaranteed it's going to happen. The second thing he doesn't understand is why people would not bow to his wishes. And you're seeing more and more and more of that. So we'll save whether we're encouraged or not to the end. But I'm saying overall, if you look at the overall picture of where Donald Trump was on election, when he was at the 6 month, and what we're approaching about the year, right? It'll be 1 year coming up soon. Much stronger, not so strong.
Okay. Right, but he did have a big win this week with the Supreme Court. I mean, Jesus.
Well, yes. But think about this. That only works if he's president. Now, yes, I understand the argument. It stands for other people, right? I mean, it's not created for Donald Trump.
I can't be optimistic with what happened there.
I don't expect you to be optimistic. What I do expect is if what I see happening is Trump will not finish his term, then it becomes a question, and he may not finish his term simply because of the upcoming midterm elections. So we'll see. We'll see. But all that's for the future. So let's look at the week that just was. And it was really hard this week, Brian, for me to choose three, but I choose three kind of across the board. And I'm not even going to begin to suggest that they are the three biggest. I think there are three things that were very important.
Because I felt the one with the Supreme Court was pretty big. I mean,
yeah,
I know
it was.
Just tonight, Mikey Sherrill from New Jersey said, she's going to have it on the table.
Right.
But this is going to become a war because the Republicans will get violent on this, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway,
And so, like I said, that one's definitely there. We mentioned right before, a couple things before we went on air, but I did this earlier today. So I kind of did a cross section of what we got. So one thing I think we should talk about a little bit tonight is the escalating anti-immigrant rhetoric coming for a couple of things. Certainly it's racial in nature, among others. And I think we should, talk about that. I think also my favorite thing that he did this week is he pardoned a Democrat who was convicted. And I want to talk a little bit about that and get your thoughts on it. And then the one that I think encapsulates Trump maybe better than anything else he has done. On one hand, he says he's declared war on, and including and we're using it now, we're killing people, military-style crackdown on alleged drug networks and users. Yet, however, he pardoned a president of a Latin American country.
Is this number two, Dave? The pardon?
No, this is number three. You've got the anti-immigrant. We'll talk about that. Then you've got the congressman pardon, and this is number three, which would be the hypocrisy, if you will, or the duplicity of him saying, "I am, waging a war on drugs," and he pardons someone who, a president, as I say, of a Latin American country, who we know as fact allowed or brought in 400 million tons of cocaine.
So here's where we have to speculate on that one.
And what happens there is, I don't know how many active drug users we have in our family of Divided We Stand, but as someone who used a hell of a lot of drugs over the years, that's a lot of cocaine. Okay. I mean, I'd love to see somebody say, "Oh, that's my personal use." How they always joke now. So which one you want to start with, Brian? And
I think that
tons of others.
With the last one, with the war on drugs, because that...
Your thoughts?
Because I do want to speculate that, first of all, he pardons a criminal with drugs, right? This is whilst this is going on, where he's knocking out these boats. I think that the only reasonable thing you can say about this is that he owes that man something. Or that person can do something for him there's some type of agreement, and just like kind of like, why is
There's
he
no
not
question.
doing anything to Putin? Well, there's got to be some logic to this insanity. You know what I mean?
There you
There
are.
is a reason,
There.
and
And it's
that's what
one
I'd
of
like to
two,
discuss.
it's one of two things. I think we'll go specifically with the former president of Honduras. It's either he has something on Trump, but I don't think that's the case in this. I think that's Putin's case. Putin has something on Trump. What I don't what I believe, and again, conjecture and speculation, but hopefully informed conjecture and speculation, is that he gave Trump or a Trump surrogate a substantial amount of money. In other words, it was a money deal. Now, I was thinking about that today, but you know what? I got even more angry, I guess if the word would be it. Every once in a while I not forget about, but I try to put out mind the J6ers. I mean, we have treasonous SOBs.
Criminals everywhere.
Criminals everywhere. It's not just here. It's not just there.
Right.
And of course, that ties in to number two, because what I found so interesting about two, Brian, not the biggest thing, but just again, how it works. Now, I haven't followed it a lot, but I do know that Henry Cuellar is a Democrat. He was indicted on these following charges: bribery, money laundering, and conspiracy. Pretty serious charges, especially if you're a member of the House of Representatives.
Right.
And it was performed as your part of your House duties.
Essentially, he's like Blagojevich. He's got a lot of shit behind him there.
Right. And so he goes in. Now, we don't know the machinations and what happened, but Trump pardons him. Now, what we do find out post-pardon is that apparently, and it's pretty accurate, either Trump assumed or Trump knew there was a deal made where Cuellar would come out and switch parties and run as a Republican, which would guarantee a pickup in Texas if he could win. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, what's interesting, and we don't know why, but the disgraced congressman said no, he's going to run as a Democrat. He's going to stay with the Democrats. Now, the Democrats kind of distance themselves from him.
I would hope so.
Well, sometimes they don't. And they do more than the Republicans, obviously. But now, I'm sure he'll be primaried on the Democratic side.
Yeah, that would be the key.
But there probably will be, it puts that district that Trump thought was, in the Republicans' pocket. And remember, he needs every congressman because it's a razor-thin margin right now. And 2 or 3 defections.
Well, he might get it in Texas.
It may, but
John Roberts has his way.
Well,
let's stop giving a pass to John Roberts. We have Alito being
nobody should get. No, he ever.
That motherfucker is he's slick.
I didn't give him a pass. What I thought naively was, and obviously he's proven me wrong, and that's fine. I thought naively he might care something about his reputation. Mm-hmm. And would, because it won't go down as Clarence Thomas's court. It won't go down as Neil Gorsuch's court. It will go down as the John Roberts court. And right now, there are judicial scholars who are saying clearly, this is the most corrupt court in Supreme Court history. It's also the worst court in Supreme Court history. And so, this is Robert's legacy. And I guess he's just decided, well, I guess that's me, and I guess I'll just keep going. So, no, there's no, all 6 of the Republican justices, the only one, and even there it's not. But if you had to say, okay, only 5 of them can be transported away to another planet, you got to save one. I'd say Amy.
Yes, absolutely, Barrett.
That's the only one out of that group. And I would hesitate. I would want to make sure that there were enough votes to do that. And some people say, well, Neil Gorsuch isn't that bad. No, here's the thing about Neil Gorsuch.
He's horrible.
No, well, here's the thing about Neil Gorsuch. He's fighting for his mother. She thinks his mother got dicked, not literally, but figuratively, by the Democrats in politics. And he's worked his whole life kind of to get where he is so he can rectify the fact that his mother was an official under somebody, and that kind of thing. So you've got both of those dealing with pardons. Now, are pardons a good thing? I would say yes, overall, but they're only a thing. They're not good or they're not bad. It's how they are used.
And now
Trump
it's really bad.
and Trump is incapable of doing anything right. It's incapable. Tell me one thing.
He's incapable of telling the truth unless he does it by accident.
Well, no, and even then he
Or it helps him.
No, but I'm just saying. I mean, so obviously, we have to rethink when we get rid of Trump. We're going to have to rethink pardons. We're going to have to rethink everything. And I'll come back to that later. So that leaves us with what? Okay, the language. I mean, we all know. But okay, do you really call the Somalis garbage? Really? And that comes from the president of the United States? That has never happened. Richard Nixon was a racist fuck. Okay? Woodrow Wilson was a racist fuck. Harry Truman started out his career as a racist fuck. And they're just in the modern age, right?
Right.
But they didn't come across and say that. Trump takes all pretense off. And so and then the one that really affects me the most, there are two things that have happened in Washington, D.C. that I take personally, just because I do. One is the horrendous decision to tear down the 24/7 Peace Vigil at Lafayette Park after 44 years of standing there. And that is Donald Trump. And even that he handled abysmally. The other is the murder/assassination of the female National Guardsman. And I think I spoke about it a little bit last week, but it's pretty hard. Just on a personal level, I've probably been at that station. I know, well, not probably. I've been there more than 100 times in 15 years because it is the second closest, or there's two stations for the White House. One is McPherson Square, the other is Farragut West. And it was interesting because Judy is political, but she's political. My wife is political in a different way. She has never mentioned Trump's name. She'll only say 45, and now she just says 47. So, I mean, she's strong that way, but she doesn't obsess like some of us are. And she just said, I just couldn't breathe. When she stepped off of the Farragut West, we went the other day, and she realized that's where this person was gunned down. And I will say with 100% certainty that would not have happened if Donald Trump were any type of president. Why wouldn't it have happened? Because we wouldn't have the National Guard here. Why wouldn't we have the National Guard here in Washington, D.C.? Because it is illegal. It's already been ruled by a judge. Now, we're back to you. It'll get to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will probably uphold the legality of it.
Probably.
Which doesn't.
Don't even say that, Dave.
Well, you don't know until they do. But what
they've
happens
been doing it the way he wants all the way through.
I understand that. But here's the thing. Remember this, ladies and gentlemen. Just because the Supreme Court says it's legal doesn't make it legal. It's the Supreme Court says it is. And there is no way. I got in an argument with an old friend about this. He said, "You don't respect the office of the presidency." I said, "I do not. I never have." Just the office of the presidency is only as good as the person that sits at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. It's the same with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is not deigned by God or the devil or spawn of Satan or whomever to be right, to be moral, to be just. It's what some men, mostly, now there happens to be four women on the court, but still, it's still male dominated. And it's what a bunch, and to say it's not political, Brian, it's always been political. Always. All of America has always been political. But we can safely say at the White House and at the at the White House, it's never been like this. I hesitate because, we had some bad decisions from the Supreme Court. And of course, Congress has done some very bad things. I mean, there used to be fist fights breaking out way back and then. And where does that leave us all? Well, we have a president who has no business being, you put up some type of, what is it in schoolyards? You can't be within 600 feet of something. They should have something be within 6,000 yards.
And now that one thing we haven't mentioned, Dave, and I hope you won't mind me bringing this up. But the New York Times had an article about how Trump says America has to get involved in changing the political landscape in Europe. In other words, he wants to help the right wing. Yeah, well, it's a serious thing because
No,
I
it
don't
is,
want my
but I'm
tax
smiling.
dollars
Go ahead.
going over there to help out people like
No,
Orban
no.
and anybody else like that.
But would you agree that there are some very good equivalents of the CIA in Europe?
Absolutely. MI5, sure.
Yeah. You don't think they have assassins? That's why
They
actually,
could, but
I'm
I
going to turn
don't.
this around, Brett. I like him being involved in that because he's overstepping his bounds. And
I don't. Every
Europe,
time he does this, he wins.
how does he?
How does he
He's
win?
a crumbling old man. How does he win?
We're talking about Trump.
We're talking about Donald Trump.
Well,
How is
who
he
won
winning?
the office of president? He probably didn't even really win.
And there you are. Okay, there you are. That's the other point. It looks more and more. Now again, it looks more and more that
Like it's a
there
criminal
was.
organization, and they did
Oh,
not
that we
win.
know. That doesn't even.
Well, that's why I say,
But
why believe the Supreme Court if you have 6 of them who are
I
criminals?
didn't say. I didn't say that. We're talking now about the assassination of the President of the United States. And what I would see happening is the more involved he gets in Europe, the more chance there is of a European attempt on his life. That's all I'm saying. Okay?
I don't see anybody from MI5 doing that. It's right at this point, unless it was an outright
Then,
fascist, where it's
there,
where you can't vote for
well,
mayor.
wait a minute. Okay, let's look at that. You don't think that Europe's concerned about Putin?
Oh, absolutely concerned about Putin.
You don't think that Europe thinks Trump's
Well,
in
why
Putin's
hasn't Putin
pocket?
been assassinated yet? I mean,
Well, I'm going to say this, and I'll defer to your expertise because you are a Russian expert. I think it'd be a lot harder to assassinate Vladimir Putin than it would be the president of the United States. As hard as it is
I don't know
to be the
that.
president.
I don't know that.
Does Putin go out in public that much?
No, he doesn't. He sits in a bunker. And we know that
Exactly.
Trump has bunkered himself. Like, for
Well,
example,
that's
when
another
the BLM
thing. That's another
protests.
thing too. But he can't stay bunkered. He cannot. Trump
Well,
cannot.
they're
Trump,
saying, Dave, that his window of working, not that he works, is decreasing.
that's not. That's. But
I haven't
he's
seen
going
him in
to-
public that much, except for
That is. I understand that, but that is for health reasons. But there's going to be a point when somebody is going to say, "You got to go back out there."
he's
And,
not
you know-
going to do it. He's afraid.
Afraid of what?
He's afraid of being booed. I'm serious. He's afraid of being booed at football games. It's all about
understand that.
image. It's all about
I'm not talking
culture
about
wars.
Brian, I'm talking about a controlled rally.
Look, there are plenty of
like
people
he
who want
used
to
do.
kill him. Look, we know that. Plenty of people.
And the question becomes, and it's a great one. I mean, think about this. It's a great one. I was working on a project with some people here, and this one gave me some trouble while you eat your dinner.
I'm not eating dinner tonight, actually. I just eat lunch,
They
but it's my tea.
here's the one that troubles me, and I've been able to live with myself with it as a decision. But I really believe that the most human condition of all is when you can show empathy. To me, that's what separates us.
I got to
from
correct you.
everyone.
Thank you, Paul. Good to see you, Paul.
Yeah, M16.
So I stand correct. So the MI6 would be their CIA, and the MI5 would be the FBI.
So what you have, if I believe that, and I do, I don't care to argue with anybody. I just think that is the one thing that is the best thing that we have is empathy. But what do you show empathy to someone who shows no empathy to anyone else, or do you fight it? And my argument is you show no empathy if the other person, if the group. And the other thing is, one of the things that I've lived by, and I don't really ever care what anybody else lives by, it's a saying that's been attributed to many different people, but it basically goes to something like this. One of my jobs in life that gives me meaning is to afflict the comfortable, meaning, comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. And so I'm fine with that. What is interesting is, that debate, Does that mean, that I really don't think empathy? Yeah, I still think empathy. But I think, again, if you try to put it all in this mindset, I think every situation and everything has to be judged on its individual merits. The president, the office of the presidency deserves nothing. It's the person there, right? Empathy, most important consideration. But if the person demonstrates no empathy and exactly does the opposite, then you don't need to show them any empathy. And that's where we stand. Now, I was also read an article today that gave me pause in this sense. They said, even if we got rid of Trump tomorrow, even if we did, the mess may be too great to clean up.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. We're so entrenched. For example, we know with Putin, he doesn't even know how to use a computer as far as we know. And then all of a sudden, for example, you cannot use WhatsApp app now in Russia. You have to use their Mac, and then you have to be registered so they know who you are at every moment. Well, that means there are people under him that know exactly what to do. And that's the same thing with Donald Trump, because he doesn't know half of this shit that's going on. I mean, he can respond to things like South Park and somebody's.
I think you're being kind. I don't think he knows 10%.
Well, but see, here's where I say we're so entrenched in criminality right now within this country, because there are people who know what they're doing, and they're behind where Russia is. Of course, in Russia, you can't even vote for a mayor. You can vote for a governor, but the governors are all appointed by, of course, by Putin. But now, right now, you have with Trump, he's trying to solidify the states, as we talk about the Supreme Court decision with the gerrymandering. So basically, he wants to get all the votes because he wants to win illegally. He does that. And then the big thing now is he wants to go after the press. We know he's going after Jimmy Kimmel. He's gone after all the comedians. He's in that sense. There's got to be people. First of all, he does know pop culture. Well, he knows media. Trump, I'll give him that. At least he understands the power of it. But it's the people below him at all levels. And again, we know that he has minions who are not qualified. What you go through Hegseth or Patel or whomever.
He doesn't have anybody who smacks of competency.
But there has to be at some level somebody who knows what they're doing. They're like the shadow banks. Well, this is the shadow operation, and that's what I'm saying. And that's not a conspiracy. You have to have somebody who knows what the fuck they're talking about to be able to pull this shit.
I can tell you who that is. Do you want to know?
Well, there's going to be can't just be one. You can't say, well, it's Stephen Miller or Stephen Bannon.
I'm going to tell you who it is.
Okay, tell us.
It's the Heritage Foundation.
Okay. Well, I can go with that.
Why do I say that? Well, the obvious thing is the 2025 plan that they put together. But here's the problem with the Heritage Foundation. They're not dumb, Ryan. They're not dumb. Hegseth is dumb. Kristi Noem is dumb. Donald Trump is dumb. J.D. Vance is dumb. But Heritage is not. They are convinced of three things. Whatever they come up with is right. They don't care about anything else, and they don't care about how you go about getting it. Number two, they do not have a conscience because they actually believe that the conservative views that they hold are the only thing that will. And third, back to something you say all the time, but it's different. They don't hate liberals and Democrats the way MAGA does, the organization does.
Right.
They hate the fact that they could be equals of their intellect at the top. So if you want to know, if you ask me, and I'm just one person's opinion, it's like you said, it's not Roger Stone, although he's part of it. Probably the single most influential person in the White House, I would say, is Stephen Miller. That would be my conjecture. And based on a couple of things, he's the only person who's been with Trump and stayed prominent since Trump first came to office.
But I'm going to go back to Hegseth for a second because,
yes,
as it's turned out, he's caused a lot of problems because he's just a complete idiot. But he's the one that can actually cause the most problems because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. First of all, using these apps that are not secure. We know that he basically believes in this sedition bullshit. He's also, they're bombing the shit out of these boats. He's just lying. He is completely incompetent, and our generals have to deal with him. He's a real problem.
But you just answered that. He's a real problem, but there's people that can deal with him. There are generals. There's nobody that can deal with Stephen Miller. Nobody. That's why I would put Miller over Hegseth.
And you don't think that the Republican Party right now, when the one thing they got so upset with was when Mark Kelly mentioned, you don't have to follow unconstitutional orders. So that tells me that they're trying to really get control of the
they're trying. They're trying.
And they might get it,
And they might not. And
if people keep resigning, then you have nobody left.
I'm going to tell you, based on anecdotal evidence, not scientific, not anything other than this, just talking to people here in Washington, D.C. And when I say talking to people, I'm talking about military people from the lowest level. I haven't talked to any top-ranking generals, but I've talked to people that are all kinds of. I really do believe today, I can't talk about tomorrow, but today they would follow the Constitution and do the constitutional thing and not fire. Because here's what it is. They are pissed as hell that Hegseth, who has no business, again, touring the Pentagon, is in charge of them. They are livid about that. They are livid about the fact that the name was changed, Secretary of War. There's a myth. Oh, all these gung-ho people in the Pentagon and Army want to go to war. No. They have the same feelings we do. Not all of them, but many of them. Especially, like using the National Guard inappropriately. Again, maybe I have a little bit of advantage, or maybe it colors my thinking. I watch every day that I'm there. I watch veterans go out and talk to the National Guard. I go with them sometimes, telling them, urging them, remember, your role is to do what the Constitution says, not what a dictator says, and they'll answer questions, and they stand there. So,
Dave, I'm going to bring us back to the 1960s. If you remember Jethro Bodine, sixth grade education, and because Mr. Mooney wanted the Clampett money, they were allowing him to do whatever he wanted in the schools. To me, Pete Hegseth is basically Jethro Bodine, and he is now the head of the armed forces.
Hegseth is worse than Jethro Bodine, but I understand.
Jethro Bodine had a heart of some sort,
That's
in his ignorance.
Yeah. And Hegseth, and of course, hypocrisy. Hell, we shouldn't even use that word anymore. But whenever you hear Pete Hegseth talking about his relationship with God, if there were a God, you know what God would do? He'd pee on Pete Hegseth.
Well, I'll tell you what, if there is a God, he's not such a cool guy, okay? Let's just put it that way.
We go through that.
We assume that God's good. Look, you and I both don't believe in a supreme being.
I don't believe in
okay.
in
but
a
the point
God.
is, it's kind of obvious, this person's not, the other side's better than this guy. It's that
well,
bad.
that's what I'm saying. So for him to sit there, and again, the president has tremendous power until, probably right, Paul. He
liked the girls just like Hegseth.
Well, Hegseth. See, I haven't watched Fox News forever, ever.
That's good news.
No,
you can't. I know who you are. You cannot listen to that shit.
No,
it doesn't
actually,
take
one of the
long
things
to
I
just vomit.
No, one of the things that I do,
reflex.
and it's just my little things that I can do. Like I said, some people say it's juvenile. I'm fine with it. I go out with my anti-Trump shirts everywhere, and also any place that I go in the public where Fox News is on, I ask them very kindly, could you change that? Yeah, double knot smile. Oh, got it, Paul. Yeah. And I will say this: certainly, Donna Douglas was a lot prettier than anybody from Mar-a-Lago, but that's just my own personal feeling. But is it dark times? Yes, Brian. No question. Are we hanging by a thread? But here's, I think, the race. Can Trump do enough damage that we can never recover from it before he is so incapacitated or so dead that he cannot be president? That's really what it's a race. Okay.
Well,
So what,
if we get past this, Dave, we at least in my opinion, you have to seriously consider. It's going to sound strange, gulagging these people. They've got to be put away. I mean, this goes. We're talking about the Supreme Court. We're talking about the Republican governors. We're talking about anybody involved with January 6th and saying that was okay. A lot of people have to be put away because they are
no
the
question.
Ted Kaczynski's
Well,
squared.
yes. Let's put it like this: they have to be emasculated, depending on what that is. Is that if that's put away? Is it just you make it so? You reduce their power so much. But I don't, and we're all victims of who we hang around with.
Absolutely.
What I mean by that, I mean, if you're with pessimists, you tend to be pessimistic, optimist with optimists.
But you certainly can admit, Dave, that if you are an intellectual, you really cannot be an optimist. I mean, you have so many signs.
No, but you can be hopeful. There's a difference.
Right. Well, an intellectual usually doesn't use the word hope in their vocabulary.
I do. I consider myself an intellectual and I use hope because that's like empathy. It's one of the things when you give up hope, in my estimation of hope, then you just stop.
Yeah, well, there is a Russian word, and it's funny you bring this up because it's very hard to translate. There is a word for hope in Russian. It's nadezhda, but and it's also a name, by the way, and we use the name hope. But there's a word in Russian called avos, and avos is so hard to translate because it's an idea of perhaps something will be better, but it's not hope. It's actually, I think, more tangible. It's the idea that maybe you can see the continuum and then something could be out there, or just maybe through serendipity something will happen. But there isn't the idea that I'm just going to hope that, because hope is really dangerous. It's kind of like praying.
No, Brian. If hope sparks action, it is not dangerous. If hope sparks the idea that I don't have to do anything because my hope is going
to... Well, part of it, too, is most people who hope, it usually involves inaction. Usually.
That's the point. But that's a wrong interpretation. Okay? It's like saying, prayers. I have nothing against people who pray. I do not care whether they do or whether they don't. That is a personal decision. What I will tell anyone that prayers without action is useless. Hope without action is useless. Empathy without action is useless. Action is in itself is neither good or bad, right? It's how you use it. But hope, empathy, consideration, a call for justice, are all good actions, but they're all actions. Now, if, and this is my thoughts, if Donald Trump goes down, it doesn't mean it's over. Okay. There's two things.
That's an important point. It does not mean it's over.
Who or what replaces him? That's number one. And number two, how much damage has been done to America? But again, flip it on its side. Mm-hmm. No American today can think that democracy is going to be here forever. That's not a bad thing. I would hope, again, the idea of action, that people, if we get rid of Trump first, you have to get rid of him. You can't worry about anything else. He has to go. That's point one. Do you see any other alternative? Do you see any success at all as long as he is president? I do not.
Absolutely not. And I only say, I'm having a little bit of a problem with the hope thing, but I don't want to make this show about hope. But getting back to that Russian voice, it's a thing of like maybe some serendipity will occur. Maybe it's like a maybe. But it's
Well,
not
is
like
it?
I'm hoping that something will happen. I can't do that with Trump. I can't do it. Like you said, I'll just say action is the key. Whether
And
you,
that's all I'm
action's the
saying. I mean,
key.
I'm not trying, but it doesn't matter what makes you act, in the sense if it's hope, if it's anger, as long as it's positive action, right?
But
That's all I'm saying.
I'm going to turn it back on you, if because I don't want to make this a religious or a philosophical. Although I do
Oh
like
no.
philosophy. But David, I want you to be very direct.
Okay.
Like, let's suppose all the religious people in the country here, all the MAGA religious people, agree with you about hope. But if you wanted to say something about hope when you don't do anything, what do you think about hope? What?
Okay. Hope without action is entirely useless, and it
Why?
can be
I mean,
counterproductive.
and I agree with you, but
No, because anything without action is useless. I hope that Stormy
so what's more
Daniels will.
important? Is action or hope more important?
You're missing the point, Brian. I'm not saying one is more important than the other, and you shouldn't be either. What I'm saying is hope is one of the things that can lead you into positive action. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So which one is more important? Of course, action's more important.
Well, maybe because of their own ignorance, that you hope that, like you've said many, many times, that you can deal with some evangelicals or religious kooks as long as it makes them a better person. Then you're okay with that because you see.
Well, now you're kind of twisting the words a little bit. I'm saying this, that I believe that in and of itself, Christianity is not an evil. It's how it's used. Now, we can go into history and look at the Inquisition and all those things, and yes, right? But there is such a thing as a person who is Christian who is still a good person. That's all. And what happens, Brian,
But did he need theology to make him good?
Let me phrase it this way. If he or she did, what fucking difference is it to you as long as they're good?
Well, I think I could answer that.
Well, why don't you try? What
think
difference? Let me rephrase
if
it.
what you're saying is the supposition is that without the religion, somebody would have that person who became good because of religion. You're saying that they were originally perhaps not.
I don't
good.
care what made them good. I just care that they're good. That's
okay.
What I'm saying.
So you're seeing is an ends to a means.
Correct.
A means to an end. I'm sorry. A means to an end. And I get that. I get that. I think if there was nothing else, that would be okay. But I think in general, when we try to push this idea of hope, I think too much of it becomes, contagious and in a bad way because we tend to think, there's always the hope there. Like it's like somebody at the casino. You just hope you're going to win, and you know what's going.
All right,
to
let's
happen.
use that. That's good. Let's use that for a
Okay.
minute. Okay, you go to the casino. That's an excellent example, and you hope you're going to win,
All right.
but you will not play. Is that hope any good?
Well, that's good. I like that. I like that. All right. You
What?
have to play to win. You have to.
You got to play. You got to play to win, and I think that's another thing.
But wouldn't it
in
be
life.
better if people would just understand?
Better. Okay.
We always hear in schools, like, we get these motivational
You hear,
speakers.
Brian. You hear. Look, face it. The America we were taught in school did not exist. For many of us, the America we learned at home did not exist. For many of us, the America we thought we saw in our communities did not exist, right? So I dismiss all those things.
Right,
What
and
you have to-
and part of the reason why you still see the same motivational poster in the teachers' lounge for the last 50 years. We live inside that bullshit. I mean, it's got to,
right.
it's got to have some kind of
And
meaning.
That's kind of, and again, simplistic, but this is a question I've never gotten an answer from that's acceptable to me. When I'm talking to anybody MAGA who has the hat on, and I try to talk to as many as I can, my question, and I'm not being a smart ass, I mean, they assume I am, but I'm not, I said, sir or ma'am, could you tell me the year that America was great? They've never been able to give me a year that I couldn't point it out that it wasn't good for some group. So the idea that America was this and that, look, America was founded and made on myths. Do you know what the first cult was in America?
Tell me.
Pilgrims, Puritans. They were a cult. Think about this, Brian, for a moment. They come over for what? supposedly, and this is kind of true, to escape religious persecution. That part of history is true.
Right.
They did not land on Plymouth Rock, although it's pretty cool to look at the rock. But they come on, and what's the first thing they do? They pass an edict that you must be of our religion or we'll throw you out.
Right.
Roger Williams, thrown out. Anybody who didn't conform, thrown out. Where did the Salem witch trials come from? From the Puritans. So we were kind of predicated on a lie that became the myth. Now, the idea that America is somehow God's chosen people, I always find that fascinating. Israel, at times in its history, when it's useful or biblical, there's kind of an indication that they're God's chosen people. Again, I don't believe that, but America has always assumed they're God's chosen people, and for us, in a certain way,
The American exceptionality.
right? Exactly. And in some ways, we were better than some other places. But for example, England stopped slavery long before we did.
Right. And even Russia did too.
Yeah. And so you also have some other myths that I'm working on trying to dispel. The American dream. The American dream is a myth. And if it wasn't a myth, it is now, right?
It certainly is now.
Hard work, come on, hard work. How much of your life, Brian, and you're typical, I'm typical, we're nobody's in the sense of, but how much of your life really has been determined by luck, chance, fate? A lot of it. Okay. And so,
well, just
same thing.
Just the DNA that you inherit will
Exactly.
determine a lot of where your life.
Well,
you can't deny. I mean, there are exceptions to the rules. I mean, you have to work hard and this and that.
Yeah.
But you if you live with the silver spoon in your mouth, chances are your life's going to be a lot different. If you are really a good-looking person, you're going to have an advantage over the next geometrically. Right.
If you're slender, you get it. Now, what's interesting about that, though, slender wasn't always in.
Oh, right, because the Rubenesque women
the rich could eat.
Correct.
That's really what it was, But this idea of America, work hard, nose to the grindstone, you do that. No.
That's a funny one. I like that one, Josh. This is good.
Yes, they did. They did have a hat buckle.
The hat buckle. It's
Well,
on the wrong clothes.
Well,
I like their sartorial
what's funny? I
choices.
was reading a thing the other day. I've always been a fascinated reader of Nathaniel Hawthorne. He and Faulkner are two of my favorites, and they share this idea of sins of the fathers and guilt and all that kind of things that they examine. But in The Scarlet Letter, which you could make a claim, for one of the greatest novels, I don't think it is the greatest, but one of the greatest novels ever written. That really got to the essence of the idea of your thing, dominance, of the influence of sex on communities and who's good and who's bad and what's good and what's bad. And
well, part of that, I think religion is guilty of trying to ruin our sexuality. I mean, in general.
Oh, no question. Well, for example, yes, no. I mean,
it screwed up a lot of people.
Well,
certainly
the
priests.
If you take sex, which is a natural urge for most people,
it's in your DNA.
For most, but some people.
Obviously, there are going to be exceptions, absolutely.
But in general, and then you try to regulate it.
Right.
Now you have to regulate it somewhat, okay? Perhaps because if everybody's having sex at Costco, I don't know if I want to go.
Right.
But the point is, least interference. There should, you should be able to love and live with whomever you want, as long as you follow the do no harm. Now, does that mean you can marry a 10-year-old? No, that's doing harm.
Right.
And unfortunately, Brian.
Well, in some religions, that's still a hip thing, to do.
Well, of course.
It's sickening,
and
we accept it. That's the piss of it all. We'll just look the other way, because they're still marrying people when they're 13 or something. Jesus Christ.
I agree. All right, but
sickening.
That also comes out of religion a lot too. because religion is very patriarchal, Western religion.
Yes.
Um, and so in that thing, uh, you know, and what also is interesting as you study, and I didn't realize this was something kind of eye opening for me. There really is not a written one, but there really is a fascist playbook. If you look at it, there's only so many things a fascist can do. And Adolf Hitler did them. Benito Mussolini did them. Vladimir Putin has done them. Donald Trump has done them. Now, the difference is the countries in which they're doing them in, right? Because here in America, Putin did have to fight with 240 years of democracy. That's kind of the amazing thing that Trump was able to.
But
take down.
he, to his benefit, he said 800 years of authoritarianism in Russia, and the same thing with China. That's the advantage they've had. They've kind of accepted that.
But you know what? You know what's interesting? That I never thought of this, and I love when I find something I've never thought of. Not that I've thought of a lot of things, but there was an article that I ran across today, and China has never, according to this article, now again, any Chinese experts out there, please, has never really attacked. It's only fought when it has been attacked. Not too many countries can say that.
Well, I wouldn't want to test it, that's for sure.
Well, let me say, but right now,
because right now they beat us, for sure.
No, I'm saying right now, of course they would. I went this week to see, and I will,
You think Kyle Rittenhouse is going to go to the front? Forget that.
No. I had the fortune. One of the things of living here is you get to meet some people that are very interesting to meet. And I went to a talk at Center for American Progress, and the speaker was Senator Mark Kelly. I went because he was going to speak on AI. He's the kind of the forefront of AI in the Senate. But of course, they brought up the Hegseth-Trump kill order. And I was sitting there and I was listening to Mark Kelly. And I said, wow, this man would make a great president. Now, he will not run for president, and I'm not even sure I want him to, simply because we need good people like him in the Senate, too. But I think Trump has never really run into this, Brian. He's never run into Mark Kelly. Now, what do I mean by that? I don't think Trump has ever run into somebody that he couldn't bulldoze, that he couldn't intimidate. Can you name anyone? I can't. And suddenly we're finding these people stand up, whether it's Marjorie Taylor Greene in his own party, whether it's Mark Kelly in the Senate, whether it's a columnist, and he just digs himself deeper and deeper and deeper. How many women is he going to call a variant of ugly slut pig? Does that gain him anything? No. The only thing Trump can do now is lose support. He has maximized his support with his election. And there's not a person, I would be surprised. Well, again, you said exceptions. There's not 1,000 people in America who were against Trump who are for him now. Would you agree to that contention?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then we have to make him make more mistakes. We have to push him more. We have to say, and to pick up on your point, Brian, we have to come back with it once he's done. Say where he was calling these women pigs. Where was Kristi Noem? Where was the hot shot?
Because what I'm going to ask you is, let's suppose he's done. Let's suppose he does serve out the term. We're all wrong, and you see where we go with this. But I want to know what we're going to do with these people if we win. That's what I want to. I want to see if the Democrats have some spine. These people have to be
okay.
They have to pay the price. I want Steve Bannon back. I don't want any pardon that he issued to be effective.
Hold on for a minute. You're how old right now?
I feel like 102, but I'm 65.
65. All right. Which are you more worried about? Where you'll be at 66 or where you'll be at 69? Got to pick one. I don't care which one you pick.
Well, ordinarily you would say 69 because you're older at the time, but I'd say I think in the now,
And there you are, Brian. You just answered your own thing. The now is all we have right now. Now, does that mean you dismiss the other? No. It means you've got to figure out what you do first. Okay? And in my estimation, what we do first is get rid of Trump. I don't care how we do it.
You
I don't care
subvert
how
him in any way possible, whether it's
Correct.
South Park,
Now-
everything that everybody
Now,
does.
do
just
we
keep
worry
doing it.
about Marco Rubio versus J.D. Vance versus this? No. Right now, get rid of Trump. Do we worry right now about the best person on the Democratic side to run? The Democrats have a lot of good people. So do the Republicans in their mind, right? So I don't know that there's an heir apparent. I will go on record as saying I will leave the country.
Joey.
I will.
That's Joey there.
Yeah,
By the
I
way,
know
if those
Joey.
folks see Divided We Stand 4082, that would be Mr. Joseph Fulcher.
And anyway, the idea of it is, I think, Brian, and I'm not saying, I mean, yes, you have to think of the future. But when you said in the now, you think of the future.
Okay,
but
if you want to get
let me do it
philosophical,
this way.
Dave, there is only a now. That's the biggest
That's-
joke to think there's future. There's only
that's-
ever a now.
Now,
The
and
future
so what
never
I'm-
happens the way
what
you
I'm
think
gonna
it's going to
say,
be.
What I'm going to say, you can learn from the past, but you can't change it.
Right.
You can think about the future, but you don't know what it's going to be. But the actions you do now can have an impact
Right.
on the future.
And that's why the now
And
is
that's,
more
I think,
important.
if we had to title this show tonight, it could be, I don't know, something about action. I don't know. But the idea of it is, I think that's it. And now we get back to hope. And I'm not defending something. I'm just saying, again, I think it's important. To me, if I had no hope, it was going to be better. I don't think I would act as strongly as I did. Why would you? So I think hope in that sense is, again, they're tied together. When I say hope plus action.
But you're not saying that the possibility that something out there, there's going to be somebody inside the machine that's creating. I hope you're not saying that.
I didn't. I said hope plus action. I can't control how you act, correct?
Well, then I think what you're saying is, I don't mind if somebody is psychologically, off center, but as long as they do whatever they do, as long as they do something good, I'm okay with it. But
And see,
you
and
have to
that's-
admit
that-
that the actual idea of hope is not really
I don't
a
have to
rational
admit-
thing.
I don't have to admit that because I don't consider it. I don't consider that there is such a thing as hope without action. When you say hope and there's no action, to me, it's not hope.
But
see,
for
that's
you,
what I'm
though,
saying.
it's
I understand
action.
that.
Action is it.
Action is what's there. And I think that is what is important. Now, MAGA, raise up. But right now, the resistance that's coming is also courage draws people. And I see it every day when I go to Union Station. I watch the people coming in. It's amazing to me because I've never been around a group that started. I mean, I was there, when it started. I'm not part of it. I'm an observer and I write about it and report on it. But I mean, I'm there. And what's happening is, Brian, people are coming from all over America and spending 2, 3, 4 days there, a week if they can. Then they come back and then they go out. And this opposition to Trump is very big everywhere.
I agree. It is getting bigger.
And now the thing is, there's a couple things. Right now, two groups that pretty much are missing in action, if you will. One are Latino Hispanics, and the other are African Americans. And I've heard a very good reason for both of them not to be there. Every time a Latino, Hispanic, and now perhaps anyone who looks, Mediterranean or Middle Eastern, there's a good chance if they go out, they're not coming home with ICE and that kind of stuff. So they know, I've talked to enough of them here, they know we're fighting for them. And we have to accept the fact that they're with us in spirit, right? But physically can't be there. There are groups here that are working with immigrants, both to protect them and then to get them to work, like the phones and things like that. So that's happening. With the African Americans, people, I don't want to pretend to speak for African Americans because I'm a lot of things, but I'm not African American. But Juan Williams, who did Eyes on the Prize, and now he has a new book out called New Eyes on the Prize, and he spoke, and I was there listening to him. And he said that right now, and I think this makes sense, he said that basically, if you look at the history of Black revolution, it's been driven by two factors, the church and women. And that's really pretty true. I mean, while the big Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and all that, but the powers behind it. And women, a lot of black women just felt betrayed because it was such a deliberate slap in their face that Kamala Harris couldn't beat Donald Trump. They will be there if they can vote, if they're not disenfranchised. So I'm not that worried about that.
Right.
And the other thing, a complaint that I've heard, and I think this is true, not true, but I can understand, the majority of protesters in DC are, if you were to say the average age was about 51, 54, probably right. Like I said, the oldest protester that I've actually physically talked to here in DC was 90 years old, and some 80s and that kind of thing. But again, young people are getting on with their lives. And the a worry that I have is a lot of young white males are prime candidates for seduction by MAGA. Because they look at their world and they think they're, I mean, could you, if you were 21 today, would you feel more optimistic about anything than when you were actually 21, or would you feel less, given today's conditions? I have an answer, but
I'd say less. But I don't know that because I think they are going after the young people, the fascists. I mean, they really are.
Well, that's what they do. I know, but they can only go after them if they can only get to you.
I think they're too engrossed with their phones to really even give a shit. And
there's
that's
enough-
good enough
and
for
there-
the
and
right too.
I got that, and all those problems are still going to be there. And Brian, we're not going to do a show on it, but you haven't even, not you, I'm speaking of anyone out there. I don't care how intelligent you are. I don't care how technological adept you are. None of us right now know where AI is going to take us. But I do know this. I believe that AI will be the most revolutionary tool to happen since the printing press.
Right. And I
That
would
is
agree
my-
with you. But like anything else, like you've said,
Good and
good or
bad, it's how it's used.
But right now they're in control, and it's a bad time
And-
for us
And
for them to be in
think about
control.
that, Brian. What you just said is very true. Okay. The oligarchs have the AI, right?
Right.
And the bad people have the government. So yes, and the job isn't. The other thing is, I think something that maybe we all need to remember from time to time is the struggle never ends. Whether you want to think it's God and the devil, whether you want to think it's human nature, whatever you want to think, good and evil have existed in the world since the beginning of time.
Okay, Dave, do you want to do the pessimist optimist
Yeah.
thing?
Okay. I'm going to split it tonight if I can. I'll go first tonight. I'm always make you go first. The week made me more pessimistic, but I'm more optimistic about the near future because I believe that I'm going to go on tonight. If Donald Trump if Donald Trump can survive to the end of his term, I will invite everybody to come to Washington, D.C., and I will pay for a giant dinner, and then we can all cry all night. It will not happen. It just now, can it happen? Of course it can happen. Of course it can. But at this point, the signs that I believe in say, and this week, I watched more deterioration. You saw it. He couldn't even deliver the Christmas message.
Right.
The man cannot function. Now, can they cover for him? Yes. Will they try to cover for him? Yes. Will he try to do that? Sure. So I'm going to go with a split tonight. As I said, less optimistic if I look just at last week, but more optimistic if I look to Trump finishing his term.
Okay, I'm
What do you got, Brian?
I'm going to be pessimistic, but
I knew that.
I'm going to split it two for you, Dave.
Okay.
You're not going to like this. But no, I'm going to say number one, I'm very pessimistic because of the Supreme Court. They keep locking him in. They keep
Right.
making it difficult. But I do want to say that I think that AI may, in some way, for the good of the people, some people who use it in the right way, and that's where I want to introduce everybody to your favorite song that I
Oh my
produced.
God,
Here
don't
we
do it.
go.
AI for positive. And one of the things I want to use AI for is how do we stamp out the music that Brian Weinstein will be creating without killing Brian Weinstein?
What's wrong with a Strauss-like waltz here and there? So,
Well, what's wrong with the bubonic plague?
okay. Well, did you do a waltz at the prom when you were a waltz,
No,
a
I
Strauss
didn't
waltz?
do a waltz when I was prom. I was too busy trying to do other things that
And
got me
we'll
slapped
leave
upon.
that for another show. And we'll probably get twice the number of people watching. So,
Now, one serious thing, and I'm not serious all the time. Obviously, I'm listening very seriousness. I really do ask that, not for the show, but people out there are really struggling with the idea of the idea of Donald Trump being president, and I'm talking about mental. Just Brian used the word, just kind of drawn out and drawn down. People are using the word tired. People are using sick of it. People are using the words frightened, terrified. If all of us can reach out as much as we can to those who feel like we do, I think it's very important that we do that. I had a conversation with a reporter whom we were very, very, very close. One of the differences was I did politics and she did feature writing, so we came from different. And she said, and she spoke for millions of Americans, that I just run from one thing to the other so I don't have to think about what's going on.
right,
Now,
no.
the other thing would be that Brian's music is also causing this kind of feeling. So what I would say is dump Trump, mute Weinstein.
Okay,
Dump
we're gonna end
Trump,
it there.
Mute
Dump Trump, mute
Weinstein.
Weinstein. Okay.
Dump Weinstein
I don't think
and mute him.
either one's gonna happen. All right. See you, everybody. See you, Dave.